was 1987 in Atlanta, Georgia, when Minnie Winston noticed something on her bathroom floor. She is in her 60s. She and her husband William have lived in the same house in Atlanta for years. A modest house, a familiar house, the kind of place that has accumulated the particular comfort of a life lived in it. She knows every room. She knows where the light falls in the morning, which floorboards creak, what the house sounds like when it settles at night. She does not know what she is looking at on the bathroom floor. It is red, wet. A small amount at first, but present, unmistakably, specifically present in a way that makes her stand in the doorway for a moment before she calls William. William comes. He looks at it. He looks at Minnie. Neither of them is bleeding. There is no one else in the house. He checks the ceiling above the spot. No leak, no discoloration, nothing that would explain fluid coming from above. The floor beneath the spot is solid. He gets down and presses his hand to it. It is coming up through the floor. They call someone, a neighbor, then an official. The kind of call you make when something is happening in your home that you do not have a category for. Investigators come. They take samples. The samples come back as human blood. Not animal blood, human blood. Coming up through the floor of a house in Atlanta with no wound, no injury, no source that anyone can locate. The Winstons do not sleep well that night. Minnie lies in bed and thinks about the floor below her, about what is underneath it, what could be moving through concrete and wood and into the rooms where she has lived her ordinary life. William lies beside her and does not say anything, and she knows he is thinking the same thing. In the morning, the floor is dry. They go about their day, they eat breakfast, they watch the floor. It happens again. Not in the same spot, or sometimes in the same spot, sometimes somewhere else. The bathroom, the kitchen, the hallway. The blood appears, is cleaned up, appears again. Minnie and William do not know what to do with this information. They do not know what to do with the blood. They clean it up because it is in their house, and it is what you do when something needs to be cleaned, and then it comes back, and they clean it again. Investigators return. More samples are taken, more tests are run. The blood is consistently typed, consistently human, consistently coming from the floors of a house where two people in their 60s are living quietly and not bleeding. The city of Atlanta sends its own people, health inspectors, building inspectors, investigators from departments that handle unusual reports. Each of them walks through the same house, tests the same floors, asks the same questions, and arrives at the same place, a verified fact that has no verified explanation. The investigation expands. Structural engineers look at the floors. They look at the pipes, the foundation, the history of the house and the land it sits on. They find nothing that accounts for human blood appearing from below the surface of the floors. Journalists come. Atlanta newspapers cover the story. A house bleeding from the floors is the kind of story that does not stay local. The Winstons receive attention they did not ask for. People park on their street. People knock on their door. People have theories, explanations, things they are certain about from the distance of someone who has not been in the house. None of the theories hold up when tested. Paranormal researchers come. They are careful and methodical in the way that certain researchers are. They document. They measure. They take their own samples. They do not find a conventional explanation either. What they find is what everyone finds. The blood is real, it is human, and it is coming from somewhere that no one can identify. Minnie Winston gives interviews. She is not a dramatic person. She describes events the way someone describes something that happened to them that they did not ask for and cannot explain. She says she was frightened at first. She says she became less frightened over time, not because the blood became less strange, but because fear is difficult to sustain for weeks on end, and you have to keep living in your house regardless. She says she just wanted to know where it was coming from. No one ever told her. The blood eventually stops. Not dramatically. It simply appears less frequently, and then not at all, in the way that unexplained phenomena in houses sometimes stop, without the explanation arriving at the same time as the end. The Winston house is tested one more time after the blood stops. The floors are examined, the foundation is examined, the land is examined. Nothing is found. The case appears in academic papers on unexplained phenomena. It is cited in discussions of what is sometimes called the paranormal and sometimes called the simply unexplained, the category of things that have been documented, tested, verified, and cannot be accounted for with available knowledge. Minnie Winston is in those papers as a subject. As a woman who lived in a house where human blood came up through the floors for several weeks, she cleaned it up every time. Not dramatically, not with ceremony, with a mop and a bucket, the way you clean up anything that needs cleaning. And then she went on with her day, because the house still needed to be lived in, and the meals still needed to be made, and the blood would either come back or it wouldn't. And there was nothing she could do about either outcome. It came back. Then it stopped. She kept living in the house. She never got an answer. The floors in the Winston house are ordinary floors, wood and tile, and the particular wear of a house that has been lived in for decades. They do not look like floors that bled for several weeks in 1987. They look like floors. Minnie Winston is still the only person who can tell you what they looked like when they didn't. How did this story hit you? Drop it in the comments. Subscribe to Hollow Fears to unlock the next file. It was October 29th, 2009, on Imperial Avenue in Cleveland, Ohio. Police come to the house at 12,205 Imperial Avenue to arrest Anthony Sowell on a rape charge. They knock, they enter. They find the first body within minutes, then another, then another. Anthony Sowell is 50 years old. He is a registered sex offender, convicted of rape in 1990, released in 2005. He has been living in the house on Imperial Avenue since his release. He has been known in the neighborhood. People have seen him, spoken to him. He has a girlfriend. He has a sausage shop on the ground floor of his building. He is a person in the community, not invisible, not hidden. And for years, 11 women have been dying in his house. The smell is the thing people talk about first when they describe living on that street. It is not a subtle smell. It is not something you can ignore or mistake for something minor. The neighbors on Imperial Avenue, a residential street in the Mount Pleasant neighborhood on Cleveland's east side, have been complaining about the smell for years. Not months, years. A thick, organic smell that comes from the direction of Sowell's house and sits in the air depending on the wind and the season. The neighbors know the smell is wrong. They know it is coming from that house. They call the city. The city sends someone to investigate. The investigation concludes that the source is a sausage factory nearby. A sewage problem, something that has a name that is not what the smell actually is. The neighbors are told it has been addressed. The smell continues. The women who are dying in that house are not women that Cleveland has been looking for urgently. They are black women mostly. They are women with histories of drug use, of housing instability, of the kind of lives that put a person at the margins of the systems that are supposed to protect people. Some of them have been reported missing. Some of those reports have not been pursued with the resources and the attention that missing persons cases sometimes receive. When a woman goes missing from Mount Pleasant, from the neighborhoods on Cleveland's east side, from the communities where Anthony Sowell is finding his victims, the response is not the same as when a woman goes missing from elsewhere in the city. This is not a secret. The families of missing women from these neighborhoods have said so publicly, have said it for years, have described going to police departments and being turned away, or told to wait, or told that their daughter or their sister probably left on her own. The infrastructure of concern, the resources, the attention, the urgency, is distributed unequally. This has been documented in city after city. It is documented here. Anthony Sowell understands this. He has chosen his victims the way predators who understand the system choose their victims, with an awareness of who will be looked for and how hard and by whom. Women whose disappearances will not produce the kind of pressure that forces an investigation forward. Women whose names will not be in the newspaper. Women who are, in the eyes of the institutions that are supposed to notice them, already a little invisible. He brings them into the house on Imperial Avenue. He kills them. He puts them in the house, in the yard, in the crawl space, in the earth behind the building. In the places that a house has when someone has decided to use it for something a house is not supposed to be used for, and when no one is coming to look. The smell gets worse. The neighbors call again. The city sends someone again. The explanation is the same explanation. It continues. When police enter the house in October 2009, they find 11 women. 3 are in the house itself, in the living areas, in the crawl space, in places that someone walked past regularly without acknowledging what was there. 8 more are in the yard, buried or left in the earth behind the house. 11 women. The investigators who process that scene spend days doing it. The scale of it, the duration of it, years of this, years of women brought to that house and not leaving, is something that the people working the scene carry afterward in the way that scenes like this one leave marks. The neighborhood processes what has been on their street. People who lived next to that house, who complained about the smell, who were told it was a sewage problem. They now know what they were breathing. They know what was in the ground 20 feet from their homes. They know that the city came and looked and said it was something else, and that for however long the city's explanation lasted, women were dying. Some of the 11 women are quickly identified. Some take longer. Some of the identifications require DNA testing and the kind of careful forensic work that takes months. Some of them had been reported missing. Their reports are in the files. Filed, documented, not pursued with the urgency that might have brought someone to Imperial Avenue sooner. Anthony Sowell is convicted of 11 counts of murder in 2011. He is sentenced to death. He dies in prison in 2021 of natural causes before his execution. The women he killed are buried in Ohio: Tonya Carmichael, Crystal Dozier, Imelda Hunter, Talasia Fortson, Tanya Carmichael, Nancy Cobbs, Amelia Jones, Janice Webb, Kim Yvette Smith, Michelle Mason, LaShonda Long, 11 names. The smell that the neighbors reported for years was the smell of 11 women. The city told them it was something else. It was not something else. 11 women, Years of a smell that the city investigated and explained away. Years of missing persons reports that did not produce searches of the house on Imperial Avenue. Years of a man living in a community, running a shop, being a neighbor, while 11 women were in his house and in his yard. The system had multiple points at which it could have found them. At each point, it didn't. The 11 names are on a memorial now in Cleveland. They deserved to be found sooner. They deserved to be looked for. How did this story hit you? Drop it in the comments. And subscribe to Hollow Fears to unlock the next file. We are a brand new channel, so we really need your support. Stick around and make sure to subscribe. It was the morning of August 12th, 1984, in Des Moines, Iowa, when Eugene Martin left his house before dawn to deliver newspapers. He is 13 years old. The route is familiar. He has done it many times. The same streets, the same houses, the same order. The morning is quiet, the way mornings are quiet before the city wakes up, and Eugene moves through it alone. The way paper carriers move through early mornings, invisible and unremarkable to anyone who might be awake to see them. He does not come home. His papers are found on the route. Some delivered, some not. The bicycle is found. Eugene is not. The police begin searching. The family begins searching. The neighborhood begins searching. Des Moines is not a large city, and a missing 13-year-old boy is the kind of thing that pulls a community together in the particular way that shared fear pulls communities together. With urgency, with volunteers, with the belief that if enough people look hard enough, the thing that is missing will be found. Eugene is not found. And then someone in the investigation makes a connection that changes what they think they are looking at. 2 years earlier, September 5th, 1982, the same city. A 12-year-old boy named Johnny Gosch leaves his house before dawn to deliver newspapers on his route in the West Des Moines suburb. He is seen by a neighbor briefly on his route. He is seen with a man and a car that don't belong on that street at that hour. Johnny Gosch does not come home either. His papers are found on the route. His wagon is found. Johnny is not. 2 boys, 2 years apart. Both 12 or 13 years old. Both delivering newspapers on early morning routes in Des Moines, in the dark, alone, in the window of time before the city is awake enough to notice anything. Someone noticed them. Think about what it means to be a paper carrier in 1982 or 1984 in Des Moines. You are 12 or 13 years old. You leave the house before your parents are awake. You move through streets that are empty except for you. Nobody is watching, not because the neighborhood is unsafe, but because it is 5 a.m. and safe neighborhoods at 5 a.m. have no one in them. Your route takes you down the same streets in the same order every morning. Anyone who wanted to know your schedule could learn it in a single week of watching. You are alone and predictable, and the city is dark, and there is no one between you and whatever is waiting on the route. The investigation into Johnny Gosch's disappearance had been running for 2 years by the time Eugene Martin vanishes. Investigators in Des Moines know they have one missing paper boy, know there was a witness who saw him with a stranger, know that whatever happened to Johnny Gosch happened quickly and quietly enough that a residential neighborhood didn't hear it. Now they have a second one. Same city, same type of route, same time of morning, same age, same method. A child alone in the dark, doing something routine, in a window so brief and so predictable that anyone watching would know exactly where to be and exactly when. Someone had been watching. for 2 years, possibly, or longer. Watching the paper routes, the boys who ran them, the schedules, the streets, the specific moments of vulnerability that a 12-year-old alone at 5 a.m. represents. The Des Moines Register, the paper both boys delivered, covers the story. The connection between the two disappearances is made public. Parents in Des Moines pull their children from paper routes. Some routes shut down entirely. The early morning hours that had always felt like a quiet, unremarkable part of the day suddenly feel different. Parents who never thought about 5 a.m. start thinking about it. Start thinking about what moves through the dark streets before the city is awake. The boys who delivered papers in Des Moines in 1982 and 1984 know something about that darkness now that most people never learn. Noreen Gosch does not accept that her son is simply gone. She investigates. She hires private investigators. She pushes law enforcement. She becomes, over the years, one of the most persistent advocates for missing children in America. Not because she chose this role, but because it is the only role available to a mother whose child has been taken and who cannot stop looking. In 1997, she says, a young man comes to her door at night. She says he is her son. She says they speak for an hour. He tells her things about what happened to him, where he has been, why he cannot come home. She says he asks her not to tell anyone he came. She tells the story publicly years later. Law enforcement cannot confirm the visit. The man does not come forward. Johnny Gosch has never been found. Eugene Martin's mother waits in a different way, more quietly, less publicly. Eugene does not become a national story the way Johnny Gosch becomes one. Partly because the Gosch case has already consumed the public attention available for missing paper boys in Des Moines. Partly because the particular machinery of media attention does not land on every missing child with equal force. She waits. She answers the same questions when investigators call. She keeps his room. Waiting is waiting, and it does not get easier with time. It becomes a different shape, a familiar weight, something you carry until you cannot anymore, and then you carry it anyway. Neither boy has ever been found. No one has ever been charged in connection with either disappearance. The paper routes still exist, in the sense that Des Moines still has morning deliveries, still has houses that receive newspapers before dawn. Different routes now, different carriers, different years. But the mornings are the same. Dark, quiet. Empty in the way that early mornings are empty. The specific emptiness of a city that is not yet awake, where a child can move through streets and be seen only by whoever chose to be awake and watching. Johnny Gosch would be in his mid-50s now. Eugene Martin would be in his early 50s. Somewhere between who they were at 12 and 13, boys with paper routes and early mornings and houses they expected to return to. And whoever they would have become, something happened in the dark on a Des Moines street that no one has ever been able to fully account for. They left their houses before dawn. The routes were found. The bicycles were found. The papers were found, some of them, still undelivered on the sidewalk. The boys were not found. They have not been found. How did these 3 stories hit you? Drop a comment below and tell us. What kind of cases do you want to hear next? If you're still here, subscribe to Hollow Fears. New cases every day.